Hello, this is just going to be a brief introduction to quantitative literacy and the quantitative literacy assignment within this module. So quantitative literacy, and you can see this on the quantitative literacy assignment, is the ability to make calculations and the ability to make sense of numbers in an applicable, pertinent, and real world way. So essentially what you're doing here is using data to reach conclusions. And I think that sounds a little bit more complicated than it is, but essentially that means you're able to look at numbers and percentages and draw conclusions based on those numbers and percentages. The reason this is so important in argumentation specifically is because you are going to be using data to support your argument. So as we know, numbers are not always created equal. And this is why we want to do this assignment. So for instance, if I said something like 65% of people pass English 111 at Mountain Empire Community College, that sounds pretty low, right? So 65% in that context isn't that great. But if I said, if you eat at such and such restaurant, you have a 65% chance of getting food poisoning, that's pretty high. So for that reason, what you want to do whenever you see numbers is really think about the way those numbers are being used. And that's why I've included this assignment within your module on argumentation. Because as you use resources, you're going to find that they use a lot of data. And when you see these numbers, I really want you to think about those numbers. So, for instance, if you're writing about a disease or disorder, something like that, and it talks about 1%, you really have to ask yourself, is 1% in the context they're using it high or low? And again, the same for anything. So if you're seeing a 5% increase in something from year to year, is that good or is that bad? And why? So again, that's why I'm asking you to think about that for this assignment. And what I'm asking you to do here in this assignment is something that's going to be pertinent to your argumentative essay. And this is something you're going to be able to include in your essay. It's a source that you'll be able to add on top of the four that you already have. So hopefully, again, it will be useful to you. So as it says for this assignment, you'll be using a piece of quantitative evidence to support the claim that you've created for your upcoming argumentative essay. So your claim, as you're going to see in the video on structuring your essay, is essentially your thesis. So you want to find evidence that supports your thesis. To do this assignment, and I've written out very detailed instructions here, so just save or print this and use this as a guide to complete the instructions. What you're going to do is use a database called Statista, and I'm going to discuss that now. So what you're going to do is use that database to find a table or chart that will help you support your claim. You're going to copy and paste the chart or table into an MLA formatted Word document and use the below instructions to access Statista. So this is a standalone assignment. So it is an assignment that is separate from your argument final and rough draft, but it is something that if you want to, you can include within that draft as well. So to access Statista, what you want to do is go to our library's website, and then you'll scroll to the bottom and look for databases and digital resources. After doing that, you'll see a database called Statista, and that's under digital subscriptions. And then you'll use a search term related to your topic and then find a piece of quantitative evidence to help you make a point. So just to show you what that'll look like, what I'm going to do is go to Statista. So right here is our library's webpage that I linked earlier. So I'm going to scroll to the bottom, and I clicked on databases and digital resources. And then I'm going to click on Statista. Again, this is a database just like some of those others, like the Academic Search Complete that I'd shown you earlier in the semester. You do have to be logged on to use this, so it may ask you for your VCCS credentials. You just use what you log on to My MECC. So this is a database. It's pretty simple. So let's say I am writing my essay on global warming. I'm going to type in global warming, and what this database is just a collection of publicly available statistics that they have collected for us. So I'm just going to click on this first one. You'll notice there's a lot of quantitative data related to global warming. So when I click on that one particular piece of data, this is what I get. And again, with this assignment, what I want you to be able to do is interpret data. Goodness, I'm getting a lot of permissions there. So here, what I would want to look at is what is going on in this table. So this table is asking people, do you think global warming is happening? So this is a perception survey. So they asked people if they think global warming is happening. It looks like pretty regularly. They skipped 2 years here, but from here on out, it seems to be yearly. And it looks like most people think it is happening. So we'll see in April 2020, 73% of people thought it was happening. But if I look prior, I had 72, 69. So that number's going up. So that's the first thing I ask you to look at with this assignment. So you pull up the data related to your topic and then just see if it's something you might be able to use in your essay. So let's say that that is going to be useful to me. And again, I would find something that's going to be useful to you so you can double dip. What you can do is go back to the assignment sheet and look at your second step. What you want to do is create a works cited entry for that source. So I would have a Word document open also. And then if you'll click the little quote marks beside the piece of data, you'll notice it will cite it for you. Make sure from the drop down to select MLA though, so that you get the appropriate MLA citation. And there's my works cited entry. And then your assignment asks you to complete a calculation using the given data. So the calculation that you do is up to you. So if you're very comfortable with math, you may want to do something that's a little bit more complex. But if not, you can do something very simple. So for instance, if I said I wanted to look at the difference in whether people think global warming is happening from April 19 to April 20, that's a pretty simple calculation, especially in this case, because it looks like there's not one. So my calculation would be 73 minus 73, which is 0. So I would say there is a 0% difference in perception of this issue from April 19 to April 20. So that's my calculation. It's just a simple subtraction. Again, if I had wanted to do something a little bit more complex, I could have gone into percentage increases and even a little bit deeper from there. So there's my calculation. And then interpretation. What are the implications of the calculation you just completed? And that's where you're asked to think critically, which is what quantitative literacy really is. So for me, there was a 0% difference in perception from April 19 to April 20. So I would just want to ask myself why. So why was there probably a 0% difference? And then I could explain that difference both on this assignment and within my essay. So you see a sample assignment on the next page. So just to show you what I'm expecting from this assignment, you'll want to MLA format your document and then copy and paste over the piece of data that you found. So to do that, it's pretty easy because all you have to do is copy this table in. I can also download it as a picture. So if I hit that PNG, it'll download it as a picture file to make life a lot easier for me. And then I would want to explain what the chart says. So kind of what I did with you as I walked through that data. So for me, I would explain this chart shows people's perceptions regarding the question, do you think global warming is happening? And then if I go back to this sample assignment, I can show there was a 0% difference. So I would say this means that there was a 0% difference in April 19 to April 20, and then I would show how the percentage was calculated. So for me, it was 73 minus 73, so very, very basic calculation. I've got a different calculation here because I used a different piece of data. And then here is my interpretation. So again, this is why I would feel that there's a 0% difference in that 1 year span. So that's essentially what I'm asking you to do here. Most of the time when you look at quantitative data, this is a process that you're doing in your heads anyway. So when you see this assignment, I don't want you to feel like I'm asking you to do too much math in the class or anything like that. All I'm really asking you to do is kind of slow down and really think about that process as you complete it so that you can use quantitative data effectively within your essay. As you'll see from your course syllabus, this isn't a heavily weighted assignment in the class, but it is a useful assignment because, again, we want to use numbers effectively. And because, like I said, it is going to be something that you'll be able to use within your essay. Now, if as you go to write your rough and final drafts of the essay, you also want to use the graphic that you found from Statista within your essay, you can do that, but just make sure to remember the graphic doesn't count toward your page length. So you would have that much extra on your essay at the very end. And that's essentially our discussion of quantitative literacy. I know that it sounds a little bit more complex than it is, but it's essentially just interpreting data effectively. If you have any questions, just let me know and I am happy to help.